Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. What a busy day it's been at our household. I'm going to have a seat because I can't jump straight into this today. I'm going to be hanging around for a wee while longer. So thank you for joining Purple Mumble Streams. I'm just going to flick the kettle on. It has just boiled, but got to have my cup of tea to hand. Lemon and ginger red seal tea it is today. Delicious cup of tea. I thought we'd have a chat about my last stream and what we cooked up last time around. Recycle that. So we are in lockdown still here in New Zealand, so we're getting ready to enter our second week of lockdown. Well, we complete our second week of lockdown, entering into our third. Hubby is not in the same country that I am at the moment. He's working overseas, so I have number one son to look after me, and he's been doing a great job of that, and in return he gets fed. Right, so today's recipe is going to be a baked portobello on mash recipe, and this is one that comes from a new, it's not a new company, I think they've been around for a wee while, I just haven't used them before. In the past I've always used my food bag or bargain box for my home food and recipe ideas, and this is a different company called the Kai Box, so it's the husband is late, yep, he's always late. Husband doesn't know that I'm streaming today. Generally he's on here and he's moderating for me, but number one son is doing the moderating for me today. So number one son, I should mention both of these, they're both streamers. Number one son streams live gaming, and he's also been learning to play bass guitar, which he's done very, very well. And he's been live streaming as he's been learning the bass guitar also. Husband, long-suffering husband, also live streams, mostly music streams that he does. So he plays guitar and sings, writes some of his own stuff, and does some covers as well. So please, if you'd like to follow either of those, that's Fluffy Cheeseburger, you'll see him in the chat here, and M. Sarge is my husband, and he'll be popping into the chat later on as well, so you'll see him. Thank you for the host, Fluffy Cheeseburger, that's number one son. And also, of course, thank you, Bob, yes, as well. You were hosting me, I think, before I actually came live online, so thank you for that. Okay, so let's have a wee discussion about this last recipe that I did, which was the Indian eggplant salad, so there you go. And this was one of the recipes and ingredients that were supplied by my food bag. Now, if you've gone back and had a look at the stream, or if you watched the stream, you'll see that I was a little bit disappointed in some of the ingredients. When I purchased this, my food bag, the recipe was supposed to be having pomegranate with it. By the time it arrived, there was no pomegranate. They changed the recipe to reflect that, although the image does clearly still show the pomegranate seeds. And I think that's a supply problem that they have at the moment here in New Zealand. Obviously with lockdown, there are some difficulties with getting ingredients back and forwards throughout the two islands, and then getting these packages pulled together, so that's fine. One of the major problems that I had with this was the eggplant. So the eggplant was the main meat, if you like, of the dish. And when I got it, only about 2/3 of it, if that, was usable. I don't know what had crawled into there, but it had made a horrific mess inside. Yeah, we can't buy any spirits. That's a problem, isn't it? Fluffy Cheeseburger, can we see you? Well, that would be a case of whether or not he's streaming, I suppose, isn't it? He might pop in later on when it comes to tasting time. I'm sure he'll show his face for that. Yeah, so this eggplant that I got, or an aubergine, you might call it in the States, a great big purpley looking vegetable, something had crawled into there and had ruined the internals of it, which was pretty disappointing because, like I said, that was kind of the mainstay of the dish. Indian eggplant salad, hence in the name. Now, I have to say that on the rare occasion that I've had a problem with my food bag or bargain box, it's the same company, just under different names and different levels of food that they send out. whenever there's been an odd occasion where something hasn't quite been up to par or to standard, they have been fantastic and doing their best to rectify the situation. And what they did was give me some credit, online credit, so the next time I order from the company, it'll be at a discounted rate, so that's wonderful news. I said they've always come to the party. Rare occasion that I've had a problem with their ingredients. They've been right on the ball and fixed it straight away. So they're under immense pressure at the moment with the lockdown. Here we are now, the second week of April. Today's the 7th of April. If I wanted to order a food box now, the soonest they can deliver that is the beginning of June. So they're a couple of months deep in trying to get these food boxes together. Obviously, demand has picked up massively during our lockdown, and hence you have to excuse all these farty sounds. It's the stool that I'm sitting on. So yeah, demand has picked up greatly, and there's only so much that they can do, and only so many people that they can service at a time, and they are trying to expand their operations, but yeah, it'll take a while, I think, to get up to par. Now, Fluffy Cheeseburger, number one son, he's always there to give me his honest opinion. The only thing that will ever score a 10 out of 10, I believe, is Eggs Benedict, and it has to be done perfectly to his liking to score a 10 out of 10. And it's difficult to get him to score anything on its own merits, because he always rates everything against his favourite. Number one, why number one son? You have other sons and he's here. Favourite. He's my favourite. I always say I've got 3 kids. I've got a daughter, and I've got a son, and I've got a husband, because more often than not, he's like a kid needing to be looked after as well. But yeah, so I've got a number one son, a number one daughter, and a number one husband. So yeah, I only have one of each, but that's more than enough to keep me busy. And 2 cats who drive you bonkers, but there you go. So anyway, so number one son always gives me his honest opinion on whatever it is that I produce. He's not a fan of eggplant. He says he's not a picky eater. He won't eat eggplant. He fusses over cauliflower and broccoli. He'll eat carrots quite happily. He's a little bit picky over peas, but he will eat them. He doesn't like coriander. Not keen on cucumber. Not keen on tomatoes. Is there anything else you're not keen on, son? Yeah, so the son is your father. Number one husband, the other son. It's like having another kid. So there is a link to this recipe. There wasn't a web page to link to for the recipe that we're making today, but there is a link. If you !recipe, it should take you through to a image of the recipe, which you should be able to print off. So yes, this Indian eggplant salad that I made, I put lots of effort into. And number one son, so these recipes have always been very, very good. When I've ordered from my food bag or from Bargain Box, we always order meals for 2 adults to last for 4 days. Well, there you go. Eggplant, tomatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, the hit list of worst foods. Oh, come on, there's more than that. Number one son. You pick over cucumber, you pick over you refuse to eat coriander. So yeah, you're a fussy eater. Hard work. So getting back to where was I? Yes, this my food bag and Bargain Box have always been very good. When I order the 2 meals, 2 people, 2 adults for 4 nights a week, we always manage to get 8 nights out of it. So I'm interested to see how far these meals go that I've got from this new company that we're working with. So because number one son wouldn't eat the Indian eggplant salad, I ended up eating it for 2 more meals and finished it at lunchtime today. So I'm a little bit sick and tired of Indian eggplant salad myself. Number one son only ate a half of his quarter bowl, so a quarter portion bowl. He only ate half of it, so I'm surprised I don't look like Indian eggplant salad by now, because I'm actually a little bit tired of it myself. But that is not a recipe that I'm going to be making again. It was a quick recipe to pull together, but Yeah, since I'm the only one that will eat it, I think that one is one for the bin. Goodbye, leave. Don't want you here anymore, won't be making that again. So, today, what are we going to be making today? Let me move this out of the way. It is baked portobellos on mash. Now, as I'm reading through the ingredients on this, I have a strong feeling that, so this recipe is supposed to be for 2 people for one night. Within this, it's 700 grams to 1 kilo of potatoes. Now, generally, I'd probably eat just 1 potato per person for a meal. That's generally, if I was just peeling potatoes or cooking up potatoes for Son and I, this is all I would cook up. So looking at this already, it tells me that there's going to be enough food here for 2 nights for us. So that's wonderful news. I liked the fact that these bargain boxes go further than anticipated. And my carrots, it says 2 carrots. I had actually, excuse me, indigestion. I had a carrot inside my refrigerator, which was looking a little bit dodgy. It's on the edge, so I've decided that needs to be used up. So I've actually got 2 and probably 2/3 of a carrot inside of there. So I don't peel my carrots and I don't peel my potatoes, and I know the recipe states that they want us peeled, but I'm not going to be peeling my vegetables. There's plenty of goodness inside that skin. They've all been washed, so they're all good to go, and it certainly is not going to harm you to eat the skin on your carrots or your potatoes. Plenty of fibre there, very good for you. So there's a few steps in this recipe today where things need to sit and wait for 15 minutes. Oh, my husband's online, so let me see if he pops his head into here to say hi. I'm sure he'll make lots of... there he is. Morning, Saj. Morning, hubby. How did you sleep? Sorry that I've put a surprise stream on for you, just keeping you on your toes. So I've got my delivery today of the Kai box. So this is the first time I've used the Kai box. And Son, so in one of those moods. So Son has helped me. There's no live link to a recipe online, so he's helped me get the image of the recipe up on stream. So you should be able to !recipe and hopefully come up with that recipe. It may pop up in another tab, but it should be something that you can print off and refer to as you're cooking. As always, I don't always follow the recipes to the par. So we'll just have to see how things go, and you can make little changes as you wish to suit your taste for the recipes. So the things that we need for this cook today is 250 grams of portobello mushrooms. These are actually quite small ones for portobellos. Some of them are quite small, and generally when I look at a portobello mushroom, I expect it to be about twice this size. So a portobello mushroom generally would fill the whole size of my hand. You get some decent ones. Yes, there's you and 2 moderators, and hopefully some other people that will have a watch of the stream later on. So I don't think you have to necessarily stick to portobellos. I like portobellos myself personally. They have a lovely nutty taste to them. So you could use regular old white button mushrooms if you wanted to, but we'll be using portobellos. That's what Kai Box sent to me, so that's what we're going to be using today. We're going to have a teaspoon of mixed herbs, and in their mixed herbs that they provide is some marjoram, some thyme, and some sage. So all these little sachets come along with the cook, with the box, with all the ingredients. Balsamic vinegar, I better go grab that. So I've got a loopy balsamic vinegar that I'm going to be using today. Love the taste of balsamic vinegar. I used to live in Italy, and that's one of the grandest things that we took away from Italy was the flavour of balsamic vinegar. And then we've got some soy sauce. I've got some extra thick soy sauce. It was just a bargain brand that we got from the supermarket at the time, but since I've tried it, I realised how much I love it. Some olive oil, so you want extra virgin olive oil, and I think this is a local one here. Yes, it is. It's a local one to us. So some extra virgin olive oil. 4 cloves of garlic. Now, number one, Son and I really like garlic, so it says 4 cloves. I've got 6. because you can never have enough garlic, and there's nobody's going to be kissing me to complain about the smell of garlic, or number one son at the moment. A half a bag of baby spinach. Let me grab that out of my refrigerator so I don't forget. Okay, so there's the baby spinach, and this is, there we go. This has already been washed and pre-packaged by the supplier, so that's great. Don't need to wash that. Half a cup of cashews soaked in boiling water for 10 minutes. So that's what I will get on and do now. My measuring cup. Here's the cashews that they've sent me, and I just need a half a cup. So 1/2 cup measure there. So it's about half a cup, and we're just going to soak that in some boiling water. So I'll just boil the kettle up again and fill that 1 cup measure up. And the reason that we're soaking those cashews is so that they will soften down and be easy to blend. We're going to be making like a cheese sauce out of cashews. So this is, the Kai box is a vegan recipe. It's a vegan company, and pretty certain that all the recipes that come out from them will be vegan recipes, which is grand because I do like a vegan diet, or at least a vegetarian diet where I can. Come on, kettle, get boiled. Whisper you the food. If only. Right, so we'll just set these aside to soak for a wee while and soften up. And it also wants me to preheat my oven. I'm not going to be doing that. That can just sit and wait because we're just going to be using my little benchtop oven. So, what else have I got to do? Baby spinach, cashews. We've got a cup of water out of the tap, tablespoon of corn flour. So there's my corn flour handy. I'll be using that. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. So there we go. So nutritional yeast, very similar to brewer's yeast, but this, if you've not cooked vegan before and you're a cheese lover, this is one of the best ingredients that you can purchase. This has got the smell and flavor of Parmesan cheese. So it's wonderful, wonderful stuff when you're cooking. If you really miss the flavor of cheese, get yourself some nutritional yeast. Plenty of sauce recipes that you can use. You know what, I'm going to put the rest of these cashews in here. There's only a little bit, so save it going to erase. It'll just make more sauce. So yeah, get yourself some nutritional yeast. Some good flavors in there. Let me move that recycle bin a little bit closer. And then salt and pepper to taste. So I've got my salt and pepper grinders here. I will get my iodized salt out of the pantry as well. I might need that later on. 2 carrots peeled and sliced into rounds, and I've already done that. So those are already chopped up. Like I said before, I've got about 2 2/3 of a carrot there, just to have some inside the pantry that needed using up. 700 to 1 kilo of potatoes. Excuse me. Found my cup of tea. Move these out of the way. And those potatoes, they're asking us to peel and cube them. I'm not going to peel my potatoes. They literally just are going to get cubed and then into the saucepan covered in boiling water, and then we'll start to cook those up. But before we do that, we want to get these mushrooms marinating. We need some olivani or other non-dairy spread. Now I have some Nutalex. So this is very close in flavour to Lurpak. It's a lovely butter substitute. It spreads beautifully. The only thing I would say is it doesn't quite cook the way as regular butter does. So if you're trying to do some baking, this is probably not the best choice. I would stick to regular butter. Yep, we're not going to go down that route, Massage. Thank you very much. And then we want some soy sauce. This is for the mashed potatoes as well. We've already got that out, and salt and pepper to pull that together. So first things first, we're going to get the marinade done for these mushrooms. So what we need is, in a small bowl, mix the balsamic vinegar. So here's my small bowl. And my balsamic vinegar, how much do we want here? 2 tablespoons. Soy sauce. And for this we want 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And this is what our mushrooms are going to be marinating in. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Get my damp cloth here. I did wash my hands earlier on, peeps, and I haven't done it online live today, but they are clean, believe you me. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now they're saying they want it divided, so we'll just check here. 1 tablespoon of olive oil for this. There we go. And 1 minced garlic clove. So let's just get the fattest one. As before, move this up and out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Just top and tail your garlic clove and just give it a wee thump, and the skin just peels away nice and easily there. Or if you have a garlic mincer, you can sling your whole garlic clove in there and it'll mince it straight off the bat. I don't know where my garlic mincer is. I did go for a wee look for it earlier on today, but couldn't find it and can't be bothered to go rummaging around. May well be in the attic with a whole bunch of bits and pieces from my kitchen that I didn't use as much as I thought I would. So I tend to buy garlic with in a jar, pre-minced, but since this comes with my food bag, then I'll be using it. I want to get this garlic nice and small in its more of a pasty stage, so it'll mix well with these mushrooms and spread out evenly. Work a treat. Well, off to bed, Bob, yes. Thank you for joining us for a wee while. When you wake up in the morning, please pop back into my channel and you should be able to see the full stream then. So thank you for having joined me. It's lovely to have you on board. Oh, and thanks for bringing in a host as well. That's very kind of you. Righto. So let's carry on with our cook. In goes the garlic, with the soy sauce, the balsamic vinegar and the olive oil. Stir that up. And I need to put some mixed herbs in here as well. So it's 1 teaspoon of mixed herbs. Well, I'd put a teaspoon of mixed herbs in if I could open the packet. Okay, so there's the mixed herbs in there. A nice wee stir around. So the mushrooms I brushed off earlier. When you're trying to get that dirt off of your mushrooms, don't wash them. The best thing you can do is just get a damp cloth or a paintbrush, but not one that you've used for painting. Switch camera views, yes I will. Not a paintbrush that you've used for painting, but a new paintbrush. Whoopsies, that's what I need to do. Just get a paintbrush and a new paintbrush and just brush the dirt off. If you get them wet, then the mushrooms just take on that moisture and they're more likely to go mushy really easily, so we don't want that. So, are we happy with the cameras? Have I done good? So, what have we done? Preheat the oven. I'm not going to do that, but I will get it ready to heat at 200 when I'm good to go. That's 200 Celsius, which is about 400 degrees Fahrenheit if you want to, if you're cooking in Fahrenheit. So in a small bowl, mix the balsamic vinegar, done. Soy sauce, yes. Tablespoon of olive oil, yes. Minced garlic, yes. And mixed herbs, and stir to create the marinade. Add the mushrooms to a shallow dish and pour the marinade onto them and let them sit 15 minutes, stem side down. So I'm just going to put everything onto a plate here. Stem side down. So there's a lot of portobello mushrooms here. So the moisture that we do want to get into these obviously is the marinade. So let's get everything lined up. So we can squeeze everything onto the dish. And we're just going to pour the marinade over the top there. Oh, nice shrooms, aren't they? So these are portobello mushrooms. You could use any old mushroom, but I do like a portobello mushroom, and this is what came with the Kai food box. Which pleases me. So just pour that marinade over all of the mushrooms. Like so. Make sure all of that garlic comes out of there. And we'll set that aside. So that needs to marinate for about 15 minutes. I'll just grab my timer. My handy dandy kitchen timer. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, start. And we'll let that tick away. I'm going to set the mushrooms aside for the time being. Whilst we move on to the next part, bring a large pot of salted water to the boil and add in the potatoes. So the potatoes, like I said, I'm not going to be washing these. I don't wash my potatoes. They just get, I don't peel my potatoes. They just get a wash. But I will just cube them up so they'll cook a little bit quicker. Oh, look, and now I've got a dodgy potato after having a dodgy. That's just in the centre there. Chop that piece away. So I'll chop these into cubes just so they cook nice and quick. So again, they're asking for between 700 and 1 kg of potatoes. So that's quite a lot of potato. I'm highly anticipating this recipe is going to last number one son and myself for 2 nights instead of the 1 which it's supposed to do. So that's great. All I have to do is heat up tomorrow night. So this little bad piece that's inside the potato here, move it so you can see. I'm just going to chop around that. Make sure the rest of the potato isn't contaminated. I've got a cat outside my kitchen door yelling his head off. So at the end of the day, there's only that little piece of potato, so not much thrown away there. So I'm just roughly cubing these up. So these will become mashed potatoes for the finale of the dish. I already have a large kettle of water that I've boiled. So we'll be cooking these a little bit faster by popping them into boiling water rather than boiling the water in the pan with the potatoes. Nothing quite like mash, is there? It's one of those comfort foods, you know? On a cold winter's day, there's nothing quite like a nice bowl of mash. Bangers and mash. Oh my gosh, we haven't had that in a very long time. So you can see my potato just here is looking a little bit nasty on the edge, so I'll just trim that little piece away. Flick my kettle back on to boil, so this water will be nice and hot before I pour it over my potatoes. That is a lot of potato, isn't it? And there goes my kettle whistling in the background. One of his favourite sounds. Okay. Let's move all this wonderful stuff out of the way and move my hob into play so you guys can all see what's going on here. Excuse the scream as I turn my hob on, it does let out quite a yell. Saucepan on top. Boiling water on top of that. My kettle just made an odd noise. I hope it's not on its way out. It'd be a disaster. And pop the lid on to keep that steam inside the saucepan. So we'll bring that to a boil, and those need to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're soft enough to mash. So we'll pop a little bit of salt in there with those. Just about a teaspoon of salt is enough. So what can we do next? You know, I need to rearrange things here a little bit. Actually, if I just lift the camera, then you can see what's going on, can't you? There you go. So potatoes are on to cook. Slide those out of the way. And what's next on here today? 15 to 20 minutes, that's how long they need to cook for, and then drain them. And we'll get a colander out. And I'll be ready for those to drain. And we're going to be mashing those, so I'll get my potato masher out as well. Well, you know what? I'm going to be lazy. I'll use the electric beaters to mash these. It makes for a smoother mash. So now these are supposed to take 15 to 20 minutes to boil, so I'll go set another timer for those. Bangers and mash and baked beans. Oh yes. Give us a bash of the bangers and mash that me mother used to make. Okay, why won't you go in there? There you go. So that's ready to go later. Sorted. So we're going to mash those with the Nuttelex buttery that we've got, or you can use Olivani if you have that, or you don't have to use a non-dairy butter. You can use a dairy butter if you're not into the vegan diet, that's fine. The carrots are going to have to steam in a small pot for about 4 to 5 minutes. I think what we'll do is we'll get these under the way first, because the mushroom's going to take a while to bake inside the oven, so the carrots can be cooking whilst the mushrooms are inside the oven, so that's fine. Mushrooms are marinating rather nicely, aren't they? They're going to need to go into a dish non-stick or lined baking dish in the oven, bake for 10 to 15 minutes. So this is the dish that I plan on popping them into the oven in. I haven't got my apron on. Oh my gosh. Shame on me. Sits there looking at me. It's because I did everything out of order. There. That's better, isn't it? So, baking paper for my dish. Great to use this stuff because it makes clean-up a heck of a lot easier. Okay, turn the heat down on those a little bit. We'll set a timer for about 10 minutes. Just a mark on my door, can't have that. So the mushrooms will be going into here and then into the oven to be baked in that lovely marinade. The Lion Queen. Yeah, I love my mum's apron. It's like having mum in the kitchen with me. I remember her tying me into this when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. She'd have to wake up the strings on it and tie it up around underneath my arms so that I didn't trip over it when I was walking around in the kitchen. So the mushrooms will be going in there shortly when they're finished marinating. So about another 5 minutes for those to marinate. The soaked cashews. What am I going to be doing with those? Yeah, so they've been soaked for a good 10 minutes or so. So we'll just strain these off. Usually it's them into a cream sauce later on. So cashews are going to be blitzed, so I'm just going to put them into a jug here, and you'll see the cashews, they're almost bendy. In fact, they are bendy. Can you see that? Bending around. Get up close to the camera. See the bendy cashews. So I'm just going to pop those into that jug so they can be blitzed. Turn these potatoes down a bit more. Heavy on the boil there. So to those cashews, what do I need to add to those? So this is number 5. To the cashews, add the soaked cashews, water. So I need a cup of water. Yep. So that'll be cold water I'm adding now. And this is to help it blend up into a sauce. Whoops. Bring the jug over to it. Rather than dripping water all across my floor. So there's a little over a half a cup there. There's just extra in the packet, so I threw it in. Number 5, nutritional yeast. So here's my nutritional yeast that they sent me. And for that I need 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. That is 2 tablespoons. That's in that packet right there. So straight inside. And like I said, this gives it a cheesy flavour. Kind of parmesan-y, so it's making a cheese sauce is basically what we're making here. So my nutritional yeast is in there, and I need a tablespoon of corn flour. Right, so I've got a teaspoon measure here, so 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. Blend until smooth and creamy and season with salt and pepper. So I'll stick the salt and pepper in there now. It's a very generous salt grinder, so 2 twists is more than enough. And then lots of nice pepper on top. Okay. Now then, how am I going to get this plugged in? Move these out of the way. I'll sit them over on the hob for the time being. Slide this up out of the way so I can get my blender plugged in. And hopefully the cord will reach. Oh, I'm pushing my luck a little bit. There we go. Okay, so just my stick blender here. Some nice gentle bursts. Got to be careful what I'm doing here because I've got cables draped over areas, which is a bit dangerous to have cables draped over. So let's just take this out for a second. Beep, 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 it says. Yeah, that's mixed through nice and smoothly. Brilliant. Disconnect the blade. Now, if you were here right now, you would smell that wonderful smell of Parmesan cheese. You know, the Parmesan cheese, it smells a bit like sick. But when you know it's Parmesan cheese, it's an okay kind of smell. I'll rinse that blade off now. It makes it a lot easier for washing up later on. Stop this. So that was the marinade for the mushrooms. That was what was beeping out. So we can get this oven switched on, because this is about ready to go into the oven. Move my cheese sauce aside. So the mushrooms, once 15 minutes is up, place the mushrooms on a non-stick or lined baking dish in the oven, bake for 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll just lift these out of here. We'll just roll them around a little bit inside that marinade. So get nicely coated. I'll put the big ones in there first, and then try and fit the smaller ones in around them. It's a bit like life really, isn't it? The big ones take over and the smaller ones have to fit in around. This marinade smells lovely too. Just because I want this, these mushrooms as much as possible to get to the bottom of this baking dish, I'm just going to break these ones up before I pop them in so I can fill in the gaps. Perfect. And this benchtop oven heats up really, really quickly, so I think we can probably throw these mushrooms in there now. Let me see how long it needs to go in for. Once 15 minutes is up, place the mushrooms on a non-stick or lined baking dish in the oven. Bake for 10 to 15 minutes. So again, that's at 200 Celsius, which is about 400 Fahrenheit. Remove and turn the mushrooms over. If there is any sauce left in the pan, spoon it over the mushrooms, remove and let sit for 5 minutes before serving. So I'm going to keep this sauce aside. We'll just go ahead and bake these. I'm just waiting now for these potatoes to soften up. Put my mixer away. Okay, so that's the beeping for the potatoes, so hopefully they're ready. There's my knife. I'll give them a wee stab to see if they're good to go. The lid's rather hot. They're still a little bit firm. Another 5 minutes will be good for those. Let's set this timer now. So when I'm mashing these potatoes, I'm probably going to be mashing them up with the rest of that garlic. Let me have a quick look. By adding olivani and milk and season with salt and pepper. Loose to cover, steam the carrots. Oh no, it says steam the carrots next. Let me put my glasses on, I'm struggling to read this. Oh, now I can see it. Fancy that. Frying pan. Okay, yeah, I need to chop that garlic up because we're going to be cooking garlic and spinach in the frying pan. So let's get that underway. Let's bring that over here. A wee splash of oil, move that marinade over to my oven so I'll remember to pop that in. So I'm just going to let these potatoes cook for a few more minutes. So once again, just top and tail your garlic and then skin will come away nice and easy. We're putting lots of garlic in here. Spinach, another one of those ingredients that number one son isn't too keen on, but you cover it in garlic and butter and he's more likely to eat it. I'm using lots of garlic today. I can peel garlic all day, it's really satisfying. I don't know if my hands would smell particularly nice at the end of the day, but oh well. So I'm just going to roughly chop this garlic up. It doesn't need to be tiny little pieces. Whoa, nearly had an escapee then. the garlic into the frying pan. Now my hands stink. Be on the lookout for our runaway garlic, about 2 centimeters tall, Caucasian and bald. Very funny. Right, so a little bit of oil inside my pan. Again, I don't like to cook with olive oil in a fry pan. I tend to use a canola or a sunflower oil. It's just a little bit inside the pan there. Not armed, but might be dangerous, correct. Right, what else does it want me to put inside here? Oh, put my eyes back on so I can see what I'm doing, eh? Heat 1 tablespoon of oil, add the 3 minced garlic cloves. Well, I've got 5, I think I put in there. Oh well. Fry for a minute or 2 and then add in the spinach. Cover and allow to wilt. Once the leaves have wilted, stir in the cashew sauce and keep stirring until thickened. That's easy enough. So that's to tell me that the potatoes should be done. Let's try those again. These handles get hot on these saucepans. As much as I like the saucepans, I don't want to burn my hands. Let's pull out one of these chunks of potato and see how soft it is. Oh yeah, just right. Okay, colander is in there. Switch this off. Take that lid off. And get these potatoes strained. Alright, I'll just let that strain off for a little minute whilst I get these carrots on to cook. Where's my lid for my carrots? There we are. Actually, I'm going to strain some of this water off of here because I don't want them, I'd rather they steamed more than boiled. My hob yells at me if there's not something sat inside of it. Quite handy, I suppose, really. And some protection for the bench top so we can mash these potatoes. Slide that out of the way. Slurp of my cup of tea. So potatoes have strained and we're just going to take them back into the saucepan that I cooked them in. And they're ready to be mashed. So, mash my potatoes with, jumping back and about on these, so return to pot and mash until smooth, adding olivani and milk. How much olivani does it want me to add? Doesn't say, so I'm going to put in what I would normally put in. It's about 2.5, maybe 3 tablespoons of butter there, or non-dairy spread of your choice. We do like this Nuttelex. I'm also going to put some salt and pepper in. Always lots of pepper and just a little salt. The milk that I'm going to use is the skim milk, obviously not a vegan option, but it's what I have in my refrigerator at the moment. You could use oat milk, you could use soy milk, you could use whatever non-dairy milk you prefer. Or if you're not going down that dairy route, then you could actually use cream if you wanted to make it extra naughty. So once again, let's try and get this plugged in without electrocuting myself and get these potatoes mashed.